Okay, so it's 3 o'clock. Welcome everyone and welcome to the Emerging Africa live chat series. My name is Ngozi Uzuku. I'm a technical analyst at Emerging Africa Capital and a member of the investment banking team. Emerging Africa Capital Group is a leading financial service provider with extensive business lines catering to the diverse needs of our clients. EAC provides integrated investment banking services cutting across equity and debt capital markets, project finance advisory and capital raising, funds and portfolio management, public and private trusts, as well as estate planning and wealth management. Emerging Africa Capital commenced the live chat series every fortnight since the wake of the pandemic and social distancing to provide thought leadership and to continue to engage with our clients and interested public in ensuring that their goals are achieved. Today's session is titled Investing with Benefits, the CBI Prbi option. But before we continue, I would like to implore everyone to type the questions they might have in the chat box during the presentation. And after the presentation, we're going to try as much as possible to answer everyone's questions. So I'd like to introduce the speaker that will be discussing this session with us, Felicia Shonubi. Felicia was admitted to the Nigerian bar and holds an LLB degree from the University of Jos. She cut her teeth in corporate legal practice at various levels in the legal department of Union Bank of Nigeria PLC after being called to the Nigerian bar. She has served as Managing Director CEO of reputable trust firms in the industry. Prior to serving as Managing Director CEO, she has served as Head Trust and Legal Advisor in similar entities in the industry. Felicia brings on board her experience in the trusteeship of public, corporate, and private trusts, as well as almost 3 decades of corporate legal experience. Felicia has attended various courses in banking law, loan documentation and credit administration, debt recovery, fundamentals of investment, portfolio management, and real estate investment trust. She facilitates at varied fora on trust and trust transactions. She is also passionate about mentoring the next generation as they are the future. She is currently the Director of CBI Prbi of Emerging Africa Capital Group and also the Deputy Managing Director of Emerging Africa Capital Trustees. So without further ado, please join me in welcoming Felicia Shonubi as she takes the floor on the presentation. Thank you.
Wow. Ngozi, thank you so much for that very lovely introduction. Indeed, I feel really chuffed. I'm so happy to be here. I'm glad I'll be presenting to you our CBI Prbi, our EAC CBI and Prbi offerings. Indeed, at EAC, we have a plethora of investment outlets, but today we'll be focusing on citizenship by investment and permanent residency by investment. Now, I'd like to, first of all, I guess I'll just dive deep in and start with what is citizenship by investment. Now, we all know that basically, the normal grounds for citizenship for any individual is by birth, either through your parents or, well, your parents or your ancestry within a certain territory, descent from a parent who is a citizen, or marriage to a citizen. But with citizenship by investment, one becomes a citizen of one of our program offerings. That's one of the countries we are presenting, on the basis of the fact that the person has invested in that country along the parameters of what the country expects for one to be a citizen. So citizenship by investment is actually usually also termed as economic citizenship, because one is actually adding to the economic value of the country they're investing in. And of course, later on, we'll go into the full benefits of having that investment and then all the advantages that come with it. Aside from citizenship by investment, there's also Prbi, which means permanent residency by investment. And that really is all about also an individual investing in a country, which we call a program offering, and based on the parameters or requirements of that country, the investor becomes a permanent resident and gets what is called the permanent resident permit, which entitles that person to a plethora of advantages aside from the investment in the country. Now, for the citizenship by investment, we have, and permanent residency by investment, we actually have three broad-based, our offerings are in three broad-based groups. We have the Caribbean citizenship, which is also called the Commonwealth citizenship, because it's basically most of the Caribbean countries. We all know that they are part of the Commonwealth. And so it's also called the Commonwealth citizenship because immediately one becomes a citizen of that country, you can also have access to all of the Commonwealth countries, as well as some other major countries in the world. We also have what is called the global citizenship, which covers some of the EU countries, and then Vanuatu, and also a couple of countries are outside the EU. That's why it's called the global citizenship. So it cuts across, it's outside the Caribbean, but these countries also offer citizenship by investment or permanent residency by investment. They will now have also the EU residency, which is basically countries are in the EU, but they are offering, a couple of them are offering both citizenship and permanent residency options, whilst a couple of them are offering only permanent residency, like Greece. Now, I'd like to mention some of the countries under the Commonwealth citizenship. They're Antigua, Dominica, St. Lucia, St. Kitts and Nevis, Grenada. They are all part of the countries, or one of the countries, or the countries that offer citizenship by investment. All the Commonwealth or the Caribbean countries offer outright citizenship, and they don't offer any, they don't have the option of permanent residency. Whilst for the global citizenship, they offer outright citizenship, in that if you invest along the parameters of what they expect as a citizen, immediately you're entitled to all the citizenship benefits for that country. Then there's the EU residency. For example, Malta offers both EU residency and EU citizenship. Sorry, they offer both EU residency and EU citizenship, which means that immediately you choose either of the options. A lot depends on actually how much one is willing to invest. The citizenship amount, is much higher than the residency requirement. So what usually happens is that for a country like Malta, if you invest along the lines of citizenship, you become automatically a citizen. For a country like Greece only offers EU residency. It doesn't offer outright citizenship from the beginning. So it's after one meets some parameters and staying in Greece for a number of years that one can now be entitled to their citizenship. Cyprus offers both as well. Cyprus offers both either EU residency or EU citizenship, depending on your investment appetite. So, although I must add that for Malta now, in the wake of the US ban, so to speak, on Nigeria, Malta has kind of removed Nigeria from its list of eligible candidates for citizenship or residency. So one would like to add or chip in quickly that all these program offerings, it's good to take them up while they are still available, because some countries, they change their requirements, or they even change our eligibility as it goes on. We all know that for now, I believe that even Dubai has kind of blacklisted Nigerians. So one, for our advice now is that if you can take on these investments while they're available, take it on. Having said that, I would like to go on to the benefits of having either the citizenship or the permanent residency by investment. Now, I know that for us Nigerians, we love to travel. You go anywhere in the world, you'll find a Nigerian. We love to travel. We are very, very adventurous. But aside from the fact of being able to travel, let me just state that one can actually, if you invest in the citizenship or permanent residency of this country, mainly the citizenship actually, one can travel to well over 150 countries visa-free. you don't have to apply for any visa. Mainly you go through the processes of the investment and you get your passport. You can travel to well over 150 countries, including the Schengen zone, the UK, and the US, Canada, subject to some limitations, which we'll mention down the line. But you can travel. And so for us, we look at, if we see an interested client who wants to invest along these lines, we look at apart from your investment appetite, we also consider your needs. There are some clients for whom their need is to travel, at the snap of a finger. They might be working, you might be working in a company that has, branches all over the world, and you need to travel at the snap of a finger. It's a major, major, major advantage for anyone who wants to travel, who needs mobility, who has mobility issues, because we all know that with our Nigerian passports, practically every country in the world, we have to get a visa to travel. And sometimes it can take months to do that. I know of a bank executive, a director actually, who needed to travel to South Africa. And I can tell you that the meeting he wanted to go for, because his passport was stuck at the South African embassy here in Nigeria, awaiting approval, he ended up missing up that meeting. He did not attend that meeting. And by the time his passport came out, there was actually no need again. He didn't need the visa, but he got it months after. But if one invests in this our program offerings, you can travel without, you actually have travel visa free for all those countries to South Africa without a visa, And so there's the issue of mobility, traveling to over 150 countries. Then aside from that, I had mentioned earlier that for some clients, it may be mobility. For some, it may be that they are looking at, the education needs of their children. We all know that, it's a pity, but in Nigeria, our education sector leaves a lot to be desired. Save for the private universities, if you're in any of the federal universities, the issue is that there might be strikes. Right now, they're even on strike, I believe. And then then aside from the strike, the education standard. But when one is considering foreign education for their children, it's fantastic to have this investment in your kitty as an additional advantage, because immediately a client is a citizen of any of these countries, you can actually access the educational system because you are automatically a citizen and you're entitled to everything that any citizen of that country is entitled to. So your children automatically are entitled to the educational system. Your children will be able to, you'll be able to pay fees aside from the fact of accessing the educational system. The children also will be able, you'll be able to pay their fees as, the citizenship fees are not as international students. I know a lot of us are going through the brunt of having to pay international fees because the children are not citizens. But if one is a citizen of any of these countries, you automatically access the education system. And so that's a major advantage, a major benefit of investing in any of these countries that we're talking about. There's also the fact that if you're a citizen of any of these countries, practically all these countries are offering this citizenship option. One actually does not have to pay tax. They're all are tax-free havens, especially the Caribbean countries and even the EU. Mainly, you sign on and you're a citizen along the lines of the parameters of the CBI and Prbi offerings. You're automatically tax exempt. And so one is actually free from all forms of tax in those countries. The only limitation, or should I say challenge, is if you now reside in the country for more than, I think, between 160 or 183 days, then you might be subject to some tax. But even then, the tax that you're subjected to is nowhere near what the regular citizen will get. I'd like to use the example of the US. If one is a dual citizen of the US and you actually reside there, I believe that even if you don't reside there, what usually happens is that you will now be obliged to pay the US tax. And wherever your assets are in the world, the IRS will track it and you'll be forced or compelled to pay their taxes. But with our program offerings, you're tax exempt. You are actually tax exempt, and they actually watch out and they ensure that as part of the advantages, you don't have to pay any of those taxes in the program offering. Then, aside from the issue of education, I think I've mentioned education and tax, you also get fantastic returns on your investments. That's why we say that it's a very, very interesting investment option. You not only get rental income if you opt for the real estate option of the investment, but you get rental income, you get also return on the actual amount that you invested. So it's actually a win-win all around. You get additional benefits that you didn't plan for, in addition to the benefit of having actual returns on your investment. In addition to that, any citizen of any of these countries or any of our program offerings can actually access the healthcare system in those countries. We all know that the EU has good healthcare system. So immediately one invest in either the PRBI or CBI, PRBI or CBI, you're entitled to the healthcare system that is available in any of those countries. So it's a win-win, very, very much win-win situation for any investor who decides to invest along those lines. So I'd now like to go on to the actual investment options. Now, for all of those countries that we're offering, there is the donation option. There's the option to invest in the countries in approved funds or approved real estate developments by the government of those countries. And then there's the option to invest in real estate developments that are privately owned, and so for those ones, you're actually the owner. So you have those three broad-based investment options in the offerings. Now, for donations, I'd like to say that, in all fairness, if you're just an entrepreneur who needs to travel, or an executive who needs to travel often, I guess the donation option will be good, because all you need to do is the minimal amount of the options that are given by this program offering. So if one chooses the donation option, it's usually best for those who are more or less keen on just being able to travel, at the snap of a finger without having to go through any stress. So the donation option is usually good for people like that. But if one has children and you're thinking of also getting returns on your investment, the best option really is the real estate development option, which usually, gives you, aside from the fact that you can now travel, the children can access the education sector, and you and the whole family can access the healthcare sector. One can also, make returns on the investment. But that option, the investment option of real estate, is usually kind of higher. The sums required are usually much higher than the sums required for donations or the investment options as approved by the government. I'd like to mention the minimum investment cost, because I know all of us now will be saying, so how much? That there's no any good
You
soup.
read our minds, Felicia.
No good soup. No good soup. No good soup is cheap. So really, I know all of us are dying to know what the amounts involved. Now, for the donation option, I think the minimum amount is about, I can confirm that the minimum amount is usually about $100,000 for the Caribbean countries. That's the donation option. But if one chooses the investment option, it can be up to $250,000, depending on the number of dependents you have, because usually these applications, you can include your parents, your children, and any dependent that you can actually confirm is a dependent. So that's usually the amount for Caribbean citizenship. But for the global citizenship, which are mostly the EU countries, the sums are in euros, and usually the minimum is about 145,000 euros. It can be up to, actually, I think for Cyprus, I know that their citizenship sum is 2 million, but you can divest after 5 years, and your investment will be only 500,000 euros. And then for the EU residency, the minimum amount is altogether, give or take, 250,000 euros, and you have your resident permit in your hand within 12 to 6 weeks, which takes me to the time to getting citizenship and residency status. Now, most of us have issues with keeping our documents. Yes, Ngozi and I are actually lawyers, and I can say that more often than not, we're the worst. When they ask for our documents, we keep our clients' documents very, very well and don't have issues with them documenting and filing properly. But when it's our private and personal documents, I don't know about Ngozi, but for me, I think my husband is more in charge of our documentation than I am. I have to look through, check an old file, check an old box, you know. But so why I'm bringing this up is that a lot depends. Time to getting citizenship and residency status, excuse me, depends a lot on your documentation. If one has all their documents in place, maximum within 6 weeks, you can have your passport or your resident permit in your hands. So a lot depends on the documents that are available, because the documents are quite they're a lot, I must say. But if you have it between 12 to 16 weeks, you're good to go with your new passport. Then I'm sure everybody will want to say, okay, minimum investment period. For most of these countries, especially the Caribbean countries, minimum investment period is 5 years. So what am I saying? It means that after you've invested, let's say you invest 2020, give or take 2025, you can actually divest if you chose the investment option. You can divest, and then of course your money comes back to you with the returns on it. And then fantastic bits, you still have your citizenship. So like I said earlier, it's thoroughly a win-win situation. So time for getting a minimum investment period, some are 5 years. I think there's a country, not I think, but not who I believe is 3 years, but we try to, because the most popular countries are the Caribbean countries and the EU countries, of which their minimum is 5 years, after which you can opt out of the citizenship. You can divest, so to speak, and then, but you still have for the Caribbean countries, you maintain your citizenship after you divest. But for the EU countries, if you divest, you lose the citizenship. But it's good to know, I believe. So we'll move on to now the eligibility requirements. Yeah, eligibility requirements. This is very interesting, and I know that Nigerians were very, very clannish. We like to involve the whole family in most things that we do. We're in the city, but we still plan for aunties, uncles, our dependents. We have our children, but we still take care of other children. Now, the beautiful thing about these eligibility requirements is that I, as an investor, can include my spouse, can include my children. I can also include my children, my adult children that are up to 30. Maximum age is 30 for some of the countries. For some countries, maximum age is 25, but generally is about, on the average really is about age 30. And then what happens is that you can include your children, adult children, young children, so long as you can confirm that they're your children. There's clear indication in the birth certificate, of course. That's the means of confirmation. You can include dependents, so long as you can show that those dependents are actually dependent on you. So there should be some statement showing that regularly, monthly, you send so much to that person as a dependent. Then interestingly, you can include your parents. Maximum age limit for aged parents, I believe, is 65. So you can include your aged parents. And for some of our program countries, you can actually include your program offerings. You can actually include your parents-in-law. For one of our program offerings, you can actually include a sibling. Very, very interesting. So it's actually a win-win, for you.
So quick question, for the sibling, is there an age limitation for such sibling, or if even if the sibling is 65 up to 70, I mean, is that feature still going to be applicable?
Yes, for the sibling, I think the main challenge or the main issue that one should consider is whether or not that sibling is a dependent. But first and foremost, you must show that the sibling is unmarried. Let me just chip in here that that offering is only offered by Grenada, one of the Caribbean Commonwealth countries. Grenada actually allows you to include a sibling in your application, and in including that sibling, you must confirm that the sibling is dependent on you, and is unmarried, So that's and I would like to add that even for Grenada, Grenada is peculiar in that it also allows you, if you opt for the Grenada offering, it also allows you to actually go on, you can apply to the US for residency after approximately 6 months of being a citizen of Grenada, sorry.
Okay, that's really interesting, Felicia.
Yeah, so I would also like to add that in the eligibility, whilst looking at the eligibility, of for the application, one also has to show clean proof of funds. Practically all the countries insist on that, and the only country that is not particular about it is Vanuatu. That's a country in Oceania, and for all the other program offerings that we have, one must actually show a clear source of income. Typically, one would just, even if, and for that clear source of income, you can show your assets. You can indicate your assets, real and soft assets that you have. So long as it shows that clearly there is no illegitimacy about it, one is eligible. Aside from that, you must also have a clean criminal record. And how that works is that we usually handhold you through that process at EAC, really. We'll still get to that. And then what usually happens is that we have our global partners. We have two global partners, actually, one for the Caribbean and one for the EU. And our partners in tandem, in conjunction with us, would assist you and handhold you through ensuring that you get a clean criminal record. Of course, we at AAC would have done our own due diligence checks on you before we even commence the process of the investment and the citizenship or permanent residency requirements. But it's a whole new ball game for the savvy investor who is keen on maxing out and sweating out his investment, And I would like to add that really and truly, even if one doesn't need, you don't have children that need the education, you're old enough, just for the investment benefits, the fact that the returns you get on it is worthwhile. We have a couple of clients who have considered the CBI especially, basically because it's not as if they're interested. They love Nigeria. They love the fact that they're Nigerians. They love their passport, but just for the return on investment. And that was a key driver for them to come on board. So I think I'd like to move on to how we come in at EAC to assist you. Our role. At Imagine Africa Capital Group, we're actually channel partners with the global partners I had earlier on mentioned. And I must say, I'm not bragging, but our global partners are actually the best in the world.
Brag, Felicia.
We have partners with the best global citizenship experts in the world, and they are warm. If there is a better word than warm, they handhold you through the process. We too handhold you through the process in Nigeria, but with them, they will just give you a wow factor. Like for the Cyprus partner, for the partner that the headquarters is in Cyprus, they actually give you what I will call, I've been through it, a 5-star treatment. Well, because you need to go to Cyprus for your biometrics. When you go, the treatment you get, you may not want to come back to Nigeria, but it's awesome. It's beautiful, So our partners, even our Commonwealth, the Caribbean partners, are fantastic as well. They are on top of their game. They know the newest, the most recent rules and regulations of each of the program offerings. They just keep you on top. Let me give an example. That we had a prospect who was considering us, that's considering they were okay with us as EAC to handhold them, but this client was now considering another global partner who wasn't really, whom she had met, but she hadn't met us. But by the time she went through the processes that our global partners presented to them, and she went through the processes that the people she had actually met physically, she was keen. There was a major wow factor for her. And I must say that I'm repeating again that I'm not bragging. You have to invest to find out. So we have the best global partners in the world, and usually we actually advise you along in conjunction with our global partners on the best option that is suitable for you in any of these program offerings. At the EAC group too, immediately upon signing on, after we have done our initial due diligence check, we also ensure that we assist you in every way possible, legally possible, I must say, to obtain all the relevant KYC documentation that is required. We assist you for some of our clients. They have maybe missing birth certificates, or we handhold this through all the process. We produce all the relevant affidavits and all the technical documents are required for our clients to be able to be eligible and to present their documents as required to the different program offerings. We also act as intermediaries between our clients and the global partners. We ensure that much as they are our global partners, we watch out for our clients' interests. Where we see that there are clauses in the agreements, in the sale agreement, or even in the reservation agreement, or any of the agreements we feel are inimical to the interests of our clients, we pick it up. We have I don't want to call it legion, but we have a fantastic team of lawyers at EAC who pick the tooth with a toothpick. They go through the documents and ensure that there's nothing inimical to the interest of our clients, and we actually watch out for that. And then our global partners also ensure that whatever our clients are doing is in line with the requirements of the program offering. That's the jurisdiction of the country that our client has opted for. We facilitate conference calls, and then, like I said, we actually ensure that eventually when one is required to go for biometrics, our global partners assist you. There's meet and greet at the airport. They do everything that is necessary to make your transition to having your second passport as stress-free as possible.
Thank you very much, Felicia.
You're welcome.
That was an interesting presentation. And as expected, we have a few questions for you. I hope you don't mind our questions.
I'm open, I'm game.
Okay. All right. So the first question is the donation option payment one-off? If not, what is the plan?
Oh, thank you. That's a wonderful question. Yes, for the donation option, it's a one-off. Immediately you pay that amount and you provide all the documents that are necessary, you get your passport. Your passport is in your hand between 12 to 16 weeks. Yes, it's a one-off option actually. And there is no staggered payment. It's one-off. So usually what happens, and really I must add that for the donation option, you are not required to pay. In fact, for all the options, you're not required to actually pay that amount until there's actual approval from the government, from the program offering of, that you've opted for. So what we normally suggest to our clients is just have the funds ready and on, so that immediately there's approval, because mainly the government consents. They have gone through your documents and they consent to your citizenship or a permanent residency. Then it is expected that one does the transfers. And we usually facilitate and assist in transferring the amounts.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much, Felicia. That was really enlightening. I actually have more questions for you. So someone has asked, is the 65 age limit for parents a minimum age or a maximum age?
Is the max? No, sorry. I'm so sorry. Is the minimum age.
Okay. All right, thank you very much. So another question that has just come in. Can you pay for any of the CBI, PRBI plans in installments, either through EAC or directly?
For all of the program offerings, one is when mainly the sums are due, you're supposed to pay everything at once. But having said that, let me just explain a bit further. Now, if one opts for the real estate option, and that option is off plan, then your payments, much as you have, there's the amount that is required by government, let's say is 300,000 euros. If it is an off-plan development that you have chosen, you pay as the property is being developed. So you pay in stages, but you will not be eligible for the application for the citizenship or permanent residency until the total required amount by government is complete. So in that regard, one can say it can be in installments, but typically, no, it's not in installments. Immediately approval is granted by the government, one has to pay the full amount.
Okay, thank you so much, Felicia. So during the course of your presentation, you mentioned something about rental income. Can you just throw more light on that for us?
Yes, the rental income is tied to where the client has opted for the real estate option, the real estate development, or the real estate option as the investment option. So what typically happens? Sorry, can you ask that question again, Ngozi?
So the rental income. So when we're talking about the benefits of the CBI, PRBI investment option, you talked about rental income and earning your return on investment in foreign exchange. So I was asking if you could throw more light as to that area.
That's the investment option. Yeah, you can. I'm sorry, I was reading a message and I got distracted. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, Ngozi. Can you ask again?
Okay, so I'll go again. I said during the course of your presentation, you mentioned as one of the benefits that clients can get return on investment in foreign exchange, and you mentioned rental income. So I want to ask you if you could throw more light on the rental income.
Yes, thank you so much. And I'm sorry for, I was actually reading a question instead of listening to your question. So yes, the rental income, you usually get it from a client will get that if they had opted for the real estate investment option. So when one invests in the real estate, that property is actually belongs to you, much as it is your investment for the CBI or PRBI. The title deed will be in the client's name. And in fact, if the client passes on, or when the client passes on, title passes automatically, which is actually another advantage of choosing the real estate investment option for the citizenship. Title passes without having to go through probate, without having to go through all the necessary processes that one usually have to go through in Nigeria if one dies by that testate or intestate, you know. So, but the rental income, because like I said earlier, the property actually belongs to you. You can rent that property. It is your investment. It is your investment for the citizenship. So what now happens is that you have met the amount required by that government for the citizenship. Having met that amount, any income that accrues from that property comes to you, the client, the investor. So that's how rental income comes to you, aside from even the capital appreciation on that, on the property. We actually have one now, if I may just chip in.
Please feel free.
In Cyprus, we have what is called the Citrine Estate project. And that project is it's like a gold mine, because the project is in a location that, you know, our partners are selling at way below, I think 50% cost, because they had acquired the property over 50 years ago. But the good thing is that there's a new casino development, which is called, you know, which is a casino development, which is close to that the project, the location of the citrine estate. And so the property is worth much more than what clients are going to buy it or are buying it for. So it's a winner, really.
That's really interesting and enlightening. So we have one question that I'd like to ask. Would you say this type of investment is also good for currency risk management by providing currency diversification of your investment portfolio?
Absolutely.
Do you want me to read that? Okay.
Absolutely. It actually mitigates against, especially with what's going on with our Naira right now. You get your returns in in Forex. If you opted for the EU countries, of course, you're investing in euro and your returns will be in euro, you know. So it's a great mitigation against the currency risk.
Okay, thank you so much. So someone else wants to know, what is the cost for donations to obtain EU residency? Then please spell out meaning for the program, so CBI, PBI, PRBI. Then also, what's the minimum cost entry for EU residency? And can you enlist kin or family?
That's like 4 questions. Can we take it one by one?
It's one person's question, so maybe let's take it one by one.
Let's take it one by one, yes, please.
So, what's the cost for donations to obtain EU residency?
For EU residency, let me use Malta as an example. Like for Malta, there's no donation option. There's only the investment option for citizenship. Do you understand? So mostly, let me just add that it's the Caribbean countries, the Commonwealth citizenships, that has the donation option. Most of the EU countries offer direct, they want strictly investment, not a donation.
Okay.
But having said that, Montenegro does 100,000, but it's single for a single donation. That means single meaning just one person. Montenegro offers 100,000 euros donation. Immediately you do that, you get your passport and you can travel to well over 150,000 countries, you know, including the Schengen zone. But really and truly, the donation option is basically mostly the Commonwealth countries that offer the donation option in addition to, along with the investment option.
Okay, thank you very much, Felicia. Then the other question the person asked was to spell out the meaning for the programs. So CBI, PRBI. Maybe okay. I'll just add here that
actually. Go on.
CBI citizenship by investments, and PRBI means permanent residency by investments.
Correct. So that question, the attendee must have joined in after we started the beginning of the presentation. So that's understandable.
So the person also asked, what is the minimum cost entry for EU residency?
For EU residency, the minimum cost, and that would be, I think the minimum cost is about 250,000 euros for residency for the EU. The EU countries are actually they're pricier than the Commonwealth countries.
Okay.
But they actually come with more benefits, because much as they are pricier, I believe that the EU countries you have access to better healthcare, you have access to better educational system. And on the whole, I'm not saying the Caribbean countries don't offer good universities and good healthcare, but the EU is, we all aware that they have better facilities than most countries.
Popular.
More questions. That person had like 4 questions. So
this is a question from me. This is what I want to know. So what are the major countries that offer visa-free entry to investors that are interested in traveling to other parts of the world?
Oh, wow.
Do you want me?
Well, thank you. Sorry?
Do you want me to go over it again? I don't know if I lost you there.
Yeah, please, can I have the question again? Thank you.
So I said, what are the major countries that offer visa-free entry for investors that are interested in traveling to other parts of the world?
Okay, if I understand your question, what you're asking is what are the countries that one can travel to visa-free if one invests in any of these program offerings? Is that what you're
Yes,
asking?
exactly.
That's a fantastic question. I know that I'm sure you have like 10 people asking that question because Nigerians love to travel, and this issue of getting visas is a major hassle. So what I'd like to say is that really and truly, if one invests in any of these program offerings, especially for citizenship, automatically, immediately you get that passport, you can travel to any of the Schengen countries without having to apply for a visa. So the Schengen zone is absolutely at your beck and call. You can get up and go any day. Just buy your ticket and fly. Then you can also do the UK. For all the Commonwealth countries, whether it's Antigua, Dominica, St. Lucia, St. Kitts and Nevis, Grenada, immediately you get their passport, you can travel to the UK visa-free. You don't have to apply for a UK visa to travel, and of course, yeah. So, and even I know that for US and Canada, immediately you have any of these passports, you get a 10-year visa. You can walk in with your Commonwealth passport or even your EU passport, and you get 10-year visa automatically for the US and Canada. So there are a lot of benefits. And then of course there's China. You can travel to China. You can travel to South Africa. You can travel to Italy, France. Those are parts of the Schengen zone without having to get
endless, right?
without having to get the visa. Yes. So the benefits are amazing, and that's aside from the fact that you actually get full economic financial return on your investment. You get access to healthcare. You have access to. Thank you.
So we're going to take the last question. So this person asks, for salary earners, what options are available to intending investors who would like to make incremental investments for 5 to 7 years?
Oh wow, that's a fantastic question. We've had prospects like that actually who are really keen on coming on board and getting on any of on CBI or Prbi, but because they are salary earners, they have to plan. So we have an asset management company at ASA. We have two subsidiaries actually that we have the trust subsidiary and the asset management subsidiary that can actually sit with you, assess where you are with your income, and plan with you on how you can, plan within that. Like you said, for this question, for this attendee is asking 5 7 years, you can now plan and actually I won't call it saving because you'll be investing, the funds will be invested until you get to that figure that is required by your country of choice. And then you can now put in your application. So we have options for salary earners.
Okay, thank you so
much. I hope that answered your question.
I hope that answered the question. So please reach out to us at Emerging Africa Capital Group and we will be able to help you plan so that you can make this sort of investments. So key takeaways from this presentation personally. So once I get my new passport or residence permit, I am eligible for a 10-year visa to America and Canada, right? Yes. And I can also apply for these investment options alongside my dependents and my family members.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And unmarried siblings if I'm applying to Grenada.
Yes.
So before we continue, do you have any last few words for us, Felicia?
Yes, I'd like to say that in addition to everything that has been mentioned, the benefits of accessing healthcare, the benefits of accessing educational system, benefits of traveling stress-free, most importantly, I guess with this COVID-19 pandemic and after experiencing the lockdown, I believe that it's good to have a backup. It's good to have that second passport that in the event that, God forbid, there's a lockdown, you know that you have an option outside having to sit down in your house in Nigeria. So it's a good backup to have, yes.
And in this, with the emergence of, political instability in Nigeria, I mean, it's also very
Absolutely.
good to have somewhere else to, a safe haven
It's
for
safe
you and your
haven.
family. Thank you
Absolutely
so much
correct.
for the enlightening session. I personally have found this session to be very interesting, and I hope everyone else have found this session to be interesting as well. So on this note, we have come to the end of this session of the Emerging Africa Capital Life Chat series. I want to thank our speaker, Felicia Shonubi, for the time and enlightening us on all these wonderful investment opportunities that we can benefit and take advantage of. And I also want to thank our attendees for taking the time to listen to this session and also sending in all their questions. I hope we have been able to answer all your questions. And if you feel like we haven't, please reach out to us at Emerging Africa. Please, on the screen now, we have our contact, so you can try to reach out to us on social media. Our Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram pages are up on the screen. And please make it a date every fortnight to meet with another session of the Emerging Africa Live Chat series. Someone just asked a question, can we have the video recording? So if you registered for this webinar, the video recording of this session will be sent to everyone that registered. So on this note, I want to thank everyone again, and I hope you all have an amazing day. Don't forget to make it a date in 2 weeks' time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.